What's happening, everybody? How y'all making out there? Welcome to the Crash Bang Boom Podcast's 198th episode. Today's guest is Colanthony, a.k.a. Cola of Toronto punk rock quartet, the OBGMs. Cola and I get into the new record, The Ends, due out October 30th. Canadian bands as influences, European shows, punk rock with some spice, and a whole lot more. And on one note about this episode, during the talk I mentioned the rise of gospel chops and didn't mention the Guitar Center drum-offs as being a catalyst for that, but that is something that I had a pretty extensive discussion with Guitar Center drum-off champion JP Beauvais previously, which is episode 78 of the Crash Bang Boom podcast, so check it out if you would be interested in hearing more about the prep and all the madness in entering those contests, which, again, I think gave rise and at least put some shine on, so to speak, the whole gospel chops movement. And with all this new record talk, shout out to my sponsor, New Orleans Record Press. If you're looking to put out vinyl for your project, go on over to NewOrleansRecordPress.com to check out the many coloring, packaging, mastering options, and you can add it all up in the real-time quote generator. Need assistance with design or packaging? They can help you, and they print both 12 and 7-inch records in 150 and 180-gram variants. And they print small runs of 100 and larger runs up into the thousands. And that's NewOrleansRecordPress.com. Crash Bang Boom Podcast can be found on iTunes Podcast, my SoundCloud, YouTube pages, Stitcher, Luminary, Google Play, Podbean, and more. If you like what you hear, feel free to check it into the previous nearly 200 episodes and give me a like, a subscription, a positive rating, and or a glowing review. The support is appreciated. And as mentioned in previous episodes, since the onset of this whole COVID thing, keep tabs on your favorite musicians who at this present time might be teaching lessons, giving classes, tutorials, and more during the downtime from touring, as well as websites like SaveOurStages.com, who are looking to bail out music venues so we actually have some shows to get back to and we step out of this shit show and into whatever that new normal may be. Help any way you can, y'all. So here we go. Cola, OBGMs, The Ends, October 30th. Get up on it. Crash, bang, boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
All right, well, I'm here with Cola from the one and only OBGMs out of Toronto, Canada. What's happening, man? How you doing?
Man, you know what? Despite all this COVID stuff, I'm good. I just had a birthday over the weekend.
Happy
and
birthday!
My wife, yeah. Oh, thank you so much. And my wife, she arranged a roast over Zoom with all my friends and family, and it was pretty live. It was pretty epic. So I'm feeling pretty good right now, you know?
Yeah. Well, given that the OBGMs have a new record coming out, The Ends, is it October 30th? Is that the release date?
Yes, I believe so. If not, my manager will kill me. But I believe it is late October. Yeah, October 30th.
Did y'all have any plans that have been thwarted given the COVID times in which we find ourselves as far as supporting the record, touring, or anything like that?
Well, pretty much all the plans have been thwarted. And
yeah, right.
You know, it becomes one of those things where in the music industry, you just have to learn how to pivot, right? Like that's what this whole game is about. I think everybody has their their blueprint as to what their dream scenario would be. Mm-hmm. The problem is that life is so fickle and everything is so fickle. Like this is why they have like force majeure things in contracts, right?
Yeah.
Like they write that out because if an act of God happens or you know, pretty much the act of what people would perceive as the devil, that you know that this thing will be canceled. So we had plans of like, you know, touring. We had plans of latching onto a pretty much bigger other band, you know, if possible.
Yeah.
We had plans of shooting all kinds of crazy videos, which we're still doing, like despite the restrictions, but there's a lot of other crazy things. Like I'll tell you straight up. Sorry, I realize this is really, really long and drawn out.
No, go for it.
But I'm giving you content, Jody.
There it is. I appreciate it.
No problem. But the night, I believe it was March 11th, we had our comeback show arranged. We had a guest list already arranged. It was like going to be packed out. But because of all the rumors of all these crazy different things happening, half of the people showed up. And not only did half of the people show up, our manager, he called us and he's like, I might have an emergency. I might have caught, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We still ended up having a great night. And, but, you know, with that happening, the very next day, everything was shut down. So everybody was there was already rumors of everything kind of going on. And like the very next day, it just happened. So yeah, all the plans.
Damn, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. You have to hit the road. And it's just like we've been home for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So now that we've been home, it's kind of, it sucks. It's nuts. It's kind of cool because I get to spend time with my baby daughter, and that's cool. But that's like the only cool part about it. So
yeah. Aside from spending time with your daughter that you wouldn't have otherwise maybe anticipated, what have you been doing to fulfill your time otherwise? Going down any YouTube rabbit holes? What's been going on?
I've absolutely gone down every YouTube rabbit hole. I've watched I feel like I've reached the end and back of the internet.
Yeah.
And you could only do that so many times before you realize, all right, I gotta do something a little more productive.
Yeah.
So apart from watching a bunch of movies, documentaries, and scaring myself watching Contagion and all that,
Right.
we've still been working on music. And not only have we been working on music, but I spoke to you about pivoting, right? So we still said, like, there's no way that we could remain silent for another year.
Sure.
We have to continue to release music. So we continued releasing music, with our little bubble.
Mm-hmm.
We've been shooting different things. Like, we got a music video coming out this week for my personal favorite single, and I'm pretty sure for the other fellas too.
Nice.
Called Outside
Okay.
is coming out. We directed it, we produced it ourselves, made it happen, and that's just what we got to do. And not only that, but it kind of feels like it's never-ending Zoom calls with different businesses and different things.
Yeah.
So I've been staying busy with that. And and once again, continuously writing music and trying to figure out when we could get into the studio next.
Yeah.
With precautions, of course. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Can't take no risk with no kids.
Right. I know. It's the truth, man. Well, tell me a little bit about the recording of what will be the ends, as we referenced earlier, and maybe how that recording experience differed maybe from the self-titled record that you put out previously.
Okay, so the self-titled record we put out previously, we pretty much produced ourselves.
Okay.
With this one, we got a little help from the man, Dave Shiffman, who's a legend on the scene. Like, he came up under Rick Rubin.
Wow.
And from there worked alongside with him and has pretty much worked with every big name that you could think of. So he's worked with Alanis Morissette, like, the Bronx.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And more recently, Pup. He's also worked with Smashing Pumpkins. Like,
Wow.
I mean, come on. This is the guy, right?
Yeah.
So apart from him just, being a legend on his own right, he's actually really, really cool. He may live in Hollywood, but he doesn't have a Hollywood attitude. He's about the music, right? He's about good music. And, when I met him, like when I had gone out to LA, I had met him and I basically interviewed him. And I think the thing that made me love him the most is I was like, what's your style? And he was like, I don't really have a style. And the reason he doesn't have a style, like, he's able to, he once again, he just knows good music. So when you just know good music, you're able to be in any room around any musician and perform, or say, I hear these tones that you were trying to get out of the toms. We tried that. Let's try this. I think you'll be able to get, like, this better. Maybe if you hit this here. And since then, like, I've worked with him on a couple of projects, and he's been super amazing. This record, The Ends, because of him, sounds bigger and better. We were already pretty loud on stage, but now the thickness is there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we really, really dug deep. We really, really want to blast people's heads off, and I feel like with this one, we're actually doing it.
Nice.
So, we were in there for a month. We recorded here in Toronto at Dreamhouse Studios. We knew we had something hot on our hands, and I like to call it cinematic punk.
There you go.
You could play any of this in a movie. So,
Yeah.
or You could think of a movie as soon as you hear it. So it's perfect.
Well, yeah, the producer that you mentioned working with him, and you mentioned the Bronx record that he worked on. I think he did the third album it's kind of peach colored, or it's got flamingos or something on the front. That
Yeah.
record is what you described. It's live, but it's big, and it sounds it's crushing. It sounds so good.
Oh, it sounds so damn good, man. And he's also worked with some good friends of ours, Punk. I mean, Pup.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's worked with Pup, and Pup has been smashing it. Pup, like they've come up around the same time as us. And what's dope about them is like they're the hardest working band in Canada, right? Those guys like have been known to play like over 400 shows in 365 days, like back to back to back to back.
Right.
So Dave working with Pup and then being able to translate those same skills to us like has been like amazing. So yeah, it's awesome, man.
Nice.
I couldn't figure a better person to work with.
Awesome. Were there any realizations that you had while recording it? And you mentioned the studio. The studio we recorded is there in Canada?
Yes, it is. It's here in Toronto.
Nice. Were there any realizations that you had in tracking your drums during that, be it sort of your own physical playing, or even just like from a production standpoint? Did you have any sort of realizations?
Physically, in my personal opinion, if anybody who's planning to be a drummer has to prepare like they're getting ready for a 5-round UFC fight.
Sure.
And especially if you're playing punk rock, especially if you're playing, something where you're required to hit the drum a lot harder than if you're just playing, basic jazz or whatever.
Sure.
Like you got to prepare, you got to be fit. Like, and the thing is like, if you're not, it's gonna show up in your playing.
Yes,
there is nothing better than human precision. Anytime it's done by a computer, the people are not going to be able to quite tell exactly what the thing is that makes it not great. But the human precision is really, really what's going to carry over and make the record that much better, right? And especially our responsibility as drummers is to essentially carry the song.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, another realization, I can't really say it was a realization on this record, but it helped me so much. Practicing to a click is imperative. I feel like that was the thing that I was never told about when I was coming up as a drummer in church, right? Like you just play to the mood essentially, right? But the thing is that when it comes to studio time is a different beast. Studio time is not live, and it's so important to play to the click. And it's not that you have to be completely perfect on the click, because like, even when you listen to certain records, a little bit of lag or a little bit of push is actually good for the record.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if you don't have a template of where the sound is going to go and keep you on, it's going to mess up, especially for later, where if you're working on records, you want a remix or something like that, right? And they need the vocals, or they need the drums, or they need XYZ. They need something else, right? They're gonna need that. We just worked on a remix for one of the songs that we're doing, which is probably not something that is often seen in rock music or punk music or anything, right? But we worked on the remix, and I just finished one of the cuts for it, like, just chopping stuff up, and it like hearing the drums just be on, it was just like, oh yes.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
When I listen to your band, I always hear there's obviously the punk thing for sure happening, but then of course, because of the history of punk and the way that it sort of ties back to even like garage rock from the '60s with bands like the Sonics and bands like that. I certainly hear some of that Sonics energy as well as like the punk energy, and I think it's good. I think it's good with y'all because you keep it a little grimy but also catchy without being poppy.
Thank you so much. I think a lot of people are scared of, like, I feel like label people, they're like, we need a catchy tune,
right?
Like, make us a pop record. And then, someone like any sort of punk band, any sort of rap group, they're just like, yo, I'm not a pop artist, right?
Yeah.
Like, my music is my music. So then they try to stay away from that. But the thing is that it's just like no. A good like once again, that's where you have to come in. The a good song is a good song, and like once again, if it fits into like grunge, or if it fits into the punk, or but if it fits into a verse chorus and it works and the people know the song and they're shouting it at the shows and whatnot,
Yeah.
like you got a heater on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
So like you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So yeah, man. So that's what it is.
Nice. How do you describe your band to maybe strangers that may be less familiar with the subgenre that you operate in, or even like your parents? Like how do you describe it?
Oof. You know what? It's funny. I haven't been asked this in a while, but I like to say loud with swag nowadays.
I like that.
Like, you know, very, very loud, but like there's definitely, like, if you pay attention to the rhythms, like even right down to what I'm playing, right? My drumming has always kind of not completely shaped the band, but it's definitely an essential part. Both me and Denz, we have Caribbean backgrounds, right? Like Denz is Jamaican, I'm Guyanese, and like I always tried to include at least a little bit of like island flavor, but like hitting the drums a lot harder than they would at a Bob Marley concert or even a Dizzy Rascal concert,
Yeah.
So there's just a little bit of spice. It's like punk with a little bit of spice,
Well, it sounds like, I know you mentioned earlier growing up, it sounds like playing in the church and whatnot. Now I'll revert back to that and ask you about the sort of the early days of you drumming. But as far as hearing non-pop music and maybe more punk rock music or any of the stuff that was kind of aforementioned, at which point in your life did you start hearing maybe some of that stuff? And were there any particular bands that kind of sculpted your interest in playing music like this?
Yeah, so a little history on the OBGMs. Like, it started out with just me and Denz, and originally we were hip hop producers and rappers, and we still are very much so involved in that world as well. When we were coming up, like 14, 15, 16, not only was it not cool to listen to rock music or anything that wasn't hip hop and R&B, but you would get beat up in the neighborhood for that.
Right.
So with that being said, it was kind of always like we were kind of always silent about that. Matter of fact, I didn't even want to listen to rock music when Denz was talking about making the band. When it comes down to it, Denz only really picked up a guitar when he got beat up by the police, and then they tried to put a case on him. That's for another time, but
right, wow.
Like, yeah, it was a messed up situation with police. Anyway.
Yeah.
But when he had to stay in the city because he was actually planning to go to school in the States, when he had to stay in the city, he picked up a guitar and he's like, "Yo, we're gonna start a rock band." And I was like, "No, hell no, we're not." And he was like, "Yes, we are." And anyway, we were both already fans of like Pharrell, so NERD was like the introduction, right?
Sure.
So as he tried to like really, really ease me back in, there was a Jimmy record that he had, just a Jimmy greatest hits, and you listen to Manic Depression and Crosstown Traffic and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, okay, maybe you could turn the guitars up a little bit more. From there, Arctic Monkeys was really, really huge. Death from Above 1979 with their first and second record. Yeah, man, I love those guys, man.
Yeah, badass.
Yeah, and then from there it started scaling back to Green Day. Billy Talent up here is huge. I don't know how big Billy Talent is in the States, but Billy Talent, like, they definitely, as I got older, like further in high school, like even like the thugs would know like Billy Talent songs and stuff like that. It Smells Like Teen Spirit was always a hood classic too.
Right.
So by Nirvana. And then you just keep diving deeper, and then what's crazy is that you try to say like these are the pivotal bands like that completely shaped us, but it becomes really, really hard to like nail one down. There's some local, I still consider them local heroes over here called the Carps, and it was my boy Neil and my boy Jamal Tong. Or Jamal Padmore. He goes by JP Miracles now.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a 2-person band, bassist and drummer, and Jamal would have the mic in front of him singing. And at the time, this was the only like non-white band on the scene, and they were killing it. They were going all over, and I still think to this day, if they kept on, they would be probably one of the biggest bands right now. I still think they have that star power.
Wow.
But they broke up. It was inevitable. And I would say that they inspired the OBGMs more than any other band that we would listen to on repeat.
Right.
Yeah, like and I think for most kids growing up in punk rock or any very, very DIY scene, they always have that scene no matter what city they're from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure there's some folks like, you know, from wherever you're from that you're like, yo, this is the guy, or yo,
100%.
this is the band. You see what I'm saying?
Of course.
Like, yeah, man. And it's just like this, it makes you want to do this music thing forever.
Yeah.
And Lord knows that it's possible, but it's a grind. So, but we're here.
Yeah, man.
We're still here.
Yeah, dude.
After all these years.
On those early years of y'all getting out when the band was forming, I know I always love asking bands about this, but some of the early shows that you end up playing could be ridiculous for myriad reasons, be it, you know, equipment meltdowns, shit venues, shitty people at the venues, crowds, whatever. Are there any particular shows that y'all played that you kind of just have to look back and marvel at for how ridiculous it was?
Man. So our very, very first show, we had, I don't know if y'all have this, Battle of the Bands.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
you familiar?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so it's a scam, right? And
yeah.
I wish we knew, but Battle of the Bands. So you basically win by the amount of people that you invite for ticket sales.
Yes.
So, and not only that, but they got shows from 7 a.m. to 3 a.m., right? And we were on at, I want to say like 2 a.m. We were on at 2 a.m. and we actually had 20 people out. I was surprised. It was our first show. It was awful. Like, as you can see, I got my mason jars on my eyes right now.
Yeah.
And my glasses fell off. Right?
Yeah.
Like, my glasses fell off like right in the middle of the set. Denz's pedals weren't working. I couldn't see. So he was trying to cue me off, and he you know, I missed a couple of times, but for the most part, we were really, really, really tight. Except for Denz's pedals not working and whatnot. But we pulled it off.
Yeah.
And not only that, but we brought all our equipment. I had a keyboard. It was 88 keys, but it was an M Audio keyboard because like we were just trying to fit in other things in there, and we didn't really have much time for setup. And I only used it for one song because I could only use it for one song. Yeah. And it was just a bloody mess.
Wow.
And and not only that, but we were at Polson Pier. So Polson Pier, it's kind of like it's in the city, but it's next to the waterfront. So in order to get there, if you take the bus, you have to walk like maybe 20 minutes to get there, right?
Yeah.
Our car was filled with all our equipment, and literally, like, you know, I had the bass drum on my lap. It was just horrible. And when it comes down to it, when a promoter only wants money and that's it, like, you just got to fight them.
Yeah.
Like, because we would see people get into fights with promoters. Like, there's a very popular promoter here in Toronto. His name is Dan Burke. And he had invited, like, we had seen video of a band being upset about their set time or something. And one of them smashed the guitar over his head.
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. It gets a little hasty out here. So thankfully that wasn't us. We always do good business, especially like shout out to Dan Burke. You know, to tell you a good story, he's the one who gave us our first great show.
Oh, wow.
And he put us on with a band named Pew Pew Pew. I don't know if y'all know them, but they started making waves all over the US and all over Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And we remained great friends with them as well. We've played multiple shows with them, but that's because of Dan Burke, right? Because he's so good at just finding talent and being like, you guys can make this countrywide. I know you guys can make this worldwide.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, just to end off on a good note.
Yeah, right? Guitar getting bashed over his head.
Yeah, man. Like, he's a good dude. I don't see why anybody would ever do that to him, man.
Yeah.
And if I was there, those guys would have. Anyway.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, man, you mentioned the church obviously earlier. Did you grow up in a musical household, man?
Yes, my dad is a gospel singer and plays keys. So we would always have music playing in the house. Funny enough, mentioning Alanis Morissette.
Mm-hmm.
Like my dad would play that for us. Anita Baker.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Marley.
Sure.
He literally play everything, and he bought me a drum set when I was really, really young because he saw my interest in it. He saw me at church one day, and I literally just hopped on the drums. I used to, it's a very, very common thing for kids who are growing up in the church to sit in front of the drums and just watch them play, especially if they're interested in it. And like after church, everybody's always at the drum set trying to get their turn,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's how I learned. And since then, I haven't stopped. So here we are.
What age did you really start sort of playing consistently then?
I started playing around 6 years old.
Wow.
And then my grandma died at 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't pick it up until high school again. And then high school, I knew I was better than the drummers that they had in the band.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't want me there because I didn't have the music classes to back it up. I just had the raw talent. Mm-hmm. So they tried to get me to play the tambourine. So I said, I'm out of here. And we started the band.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
That's pretty wild. So, man, you started really young. I mean, I got my first kit when I was 15. I did some, like concert band, jazz band, marching band, all that stuff, some different music programs. A little bit prior to that, but when I got my first real kit, it was at age 15, and I was probably playing gigs, within about a year and a half or so, I would say, beyond that. But for you to start at 6, that is so young.
Oh man, it's so common over here, like for like especially like kids who play at church.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you know the drummer Larnell Lewis. Are you familiar with him?
I think I've heard of his name for sure.
Okay, so he's been playing since he was 2 years old. This guy is the best drummer ever. Okay, like ever. Like he's, and not only is he the best drummer, but I think what makes him particularly amazing is the fact that he's the nicest guy. He's the most humble, and he's not about trying to show out and show off. He's solely about the groove. So I think he did a Zildjian sponsored series. Watch how the people are watching him. It's just like it's raw skill but true enjoyment. You can see it in his face, right? And once again, this guy, like, he's the best drummer ever. His younger brother Ricky plays for The Weeknd.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and like they're not just Toronto legends, they're like worldwide legends because like they're so damn good.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. And like once again, those guys started young. Like the music community over here is pretty tight knit. Like you'll know somebody from every level. Like even but like I'm not gonna name drop anybody, but like I'm telling you, everybody out here, like if you grew up in the church, you probably started like within your formative first 5 or 6 years of life playing drums or any instrument at all. Right. Like it's just so common.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a different world, not one that I grew up in, but one that I've marveled at. And I think like most people, I think their awareness around it probably started around the time that like the gospel chops and the like shred, kind of like shred videos started popping up on YouTube. And I think people became aware of a sort of a culture and a world that maybe otherwise we didn't really know much about. And you mentioned starting young. I mean, you didn't look much further than people like Thomas Pridgeon or Tony Royster. I mean, Tony Royster Jr. was doing instructional videos with Dennis Chambers when he was a little kid. I was just like, how is a little kid playing next to like one of the most revered drummers that's out there? And it's the iron sharpens iron world, as I've described it, of being around so much heavy talent and the stressing, I think, of chops and really kind of really expanding that whole vocabulary. And it's just not something that you would otherwise, I think, come across, I think colleges, like academically, they're starting to pick up more on that. That's something that I've noticed. It's becoming more of the vocabulary and it's being taught.
Absolutely.
But originally, like even, like 10 years ago, a decade ago, I don't think there was awareness about it.
Definitely not. Like, so y'all have like Juilliard School of Music is out in that's out in the UK, right?
There's one. I think there's a Juilliard in New York, but there's definitely Berkeley. Berkeley is the big one.
So Berkeley, So Berkeley's out in Boston, and over here we have Humber College, right? Mm-hmm. And originally I wanted to go to Humber, and I wanted to go for keys. I should have tried to go for drums, because the generation before me, those were all like, I was starting to see everybody from the church that was like super good but couldn't read music. Mm-hmm. Like they were starting to get in, and they you could see the faculty like kind of upset that they didn't get raised with like like music notes and whatnot, but more so the fact that they knew that they couldn't deny them. There was undeniable talent. There's no way that you could say no to these guys.
Sure.
Right. So they started introducing them. So, and I applied. I didn't get in, which is totally fine. Like, I'm still doing this now.
Right. Totally.
So you don't got to go to school to do music, kids, but you should, like, if you can, why not?
Right.
Anyway, that being said, I'm never going to say anything bad about education, but anyway, that being said, like, I remember like going to like different music classes so that I could like try to get into the program. And I would always see all these people from like different churches that I knew. Yeah. Right. And they would have shed sessions for hours.
Yeah.
Right. And it like in the classrooms and stuff, and you'd see other kids walk by and just like revere at these musicians that like I knew like on a first name basis, because these are just people I grew up with. Right. Yeah. So it's just like, it's absolutely crazy, man. And it like, once again, as you said, it's a culture that was kind of cool because it's almost like a secret society almost.
Totally.
Right. Yeah. Where it's just like, trust me, we got good musicians over here.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I can't necessarily say like I'm definitely not the nicest drummer. I wish I was, but like to be around that, it definitely made me better.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm, no doubt.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned some of the bands that the OBGMs have gone out with. Are there any particular bands or even drummers or just musicians in general that y'all have shared the stage with that you've really enjoyed, especially that maybe you didn't mention earlier?
Pew 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 is one of my favorites. We've shared the stage with them so much, and David Lane, he holds it down on the drums for them. I love them. Mets is
they're awesome.
We didn't necessarily, they're crazy. We didn't share the same stage, but we played right before them and they played right after. I really, really enjoy what they do, like, especially on the drums. Like, there's just so many homies that I know that I'm just like, yo, that guy puts it down. Mm-hmm. But, we have homies, the Effins out of here. Those guys are awesome. Champion Lover is another band that we've played a lot with. That's like completely dope.
Cool.
We played with a band in Germany called Red Gold Green. And they're actually from I believe Virginia, and they got this one drummer. His name is Snacks, and he is wicked. He is so tight.
Nice.
He's a wicked drummer. For specifically drummers, I can't just put it to the bands that we've been around, because like you just pick up things from everywhere and you're just like, yo, that guy, like how do I fit that rhythm into what I'm doing right now?
Sure. How were y'all received when y'all went to Europe? You mentioned that earlier.
Europe was amazing. The first time we went was absolutely insane. It was We had gotten accepted to Iceland Airwaves,
Nice.
and yeah, and that's a wicked festival. We got accepted there. The man Grimmer, he hooked it up. Anyway, that's probably one of my favorite shows that we've ever done, and it was just complete madness. It must have been 600 people in the room, and people were like flying off the walls and whatnot, like, like feet to the ceiling and whatnot. It was nuts. We got off stage. Sound man wants to have a drink with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Stage manager wants to have a drink with you.
Mhm.
Like it was absolutely nuts. And like, yeah, we put it down and we had a great time. And then not only that, but we had a layover, and that during that layover is when we went to Germany, we went to France, and we went to Belgium, and we didn't get to play France the first time because that's when the Eagles of Death Metal
Oh,
concert got shot
back
up.
on. Oh God. Yeah.
When that happened, we were on stage in Belgium, in Liège, and we had just finished assaulting the show. It was crazy.
Yeah.
We were high-fiving as soon as we got off, and our manager at the time, he brought us to the back room. He's like, "Boys, I know this is a great night. Some terrorist attacks just happened, like, in
Oh.
France."
Oof.
Yeah, it was heavy, bro. And then we went and we turned on the TV when we got back to our Airbnb,
Mhm.
and it was shocking, man.
Yeah.
It was shocking. Yeah. But we got that show back, and we went to France for a second time, and that was our second European tour.
Mm.
And yeah, once again, well received. Like, everybody loved us. It was crazy. Paris is like New York in the 80s, where except French,
Right.
everybody's mean.
Yeah. Totally.
Everybody's mean. Like, they're hard body out there, man.
Yeah, they
Like,
are.
they're and if you don't speak French,
Oh yeah.
you're gonna have a very, very rough time.
I
And
know.
it's like, if you could learn French before you get out there, it still might not work.
My wife speaks it. Yeah, my wife
Oh,
speaks it, and then there's still like the Parisians in particular could be such a bunch of judgmental pricks about it, and you could just see the
yeah.
disdain for them. And I just kind of want to slap the shit out of them. I was like, man, some of these Parisians are just pricks.
Oh man, we went there. We played Afropunk Paris,
Uh-huh.
which is actually probably the best show we've ever played. Over 1,000 people,
Wow.
completely losing their shit.
Yeah.
It was the best.
Yeah.
But anyway, the amount of fights that I seen almost break out on the tube, on the subway,
Yeah.
was just absolutely insane. Just from people just like, staring at each other like the wrong way, or like, belligerent soccer fans.
Right.
Like, it happens. Like, and I understand that happens. That happens out here. Like,
Yeah.
but like out there, it was different. But like, I gotta say, the last time I was in Paris, I had an amazing time, man.
Nice.
That, like, Afropunk Paris was just so crazy, and we just had a killer good time. We made sure to go hard, and that's what we do every time we hit the stage. So
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah, no doubt.
Awesome. Well, damn, man, I'm looking forward to the ends coming out. We know it's late October, and it sounds like y'all put some good work in on it. Y'all are feeling good about it, and obviously the production has already sounded good from the 3 songs y'all have released thus far.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, got a new video or new single coming. It's a new video coming out, you said, right?
New single and video coming out.
Gotcha, nice.
On the 16th of September. Outside is coming, and like I told you, once again, cinematic punk.
Yeah,
Wait until you see that video. That video is crazy, and we directed it,
nice.
and it's violence, bro.
Well, by the time this airs, it would have already come out, but I'll be sure to add a link in the description just to make sure if anyone missed it, they can reference it right there.
Oh, bro, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that, man. This is my favorite up till this time.
Nice.
And yeah, man, you can look forward to more crazy, wild stuff from us. Just follow us on the OBGMs on everything.
Nice.
Well, we out here, man.
Nice. Right on, man. Well, thanks so much for catching up with me, man, and keep your head on your shoulders amidst these bizarre times and make the most of it, and look forward to this new record coming out.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me, man. I'm really, really loving how you're really, really putting the drums to the forefront, because these guitarists are getting a little cocky out here.
Got to set them straight.
Yeah, we got to set them straight and let them know who's really, really doing the real weightlifting out here.
For real, man. Right on, dude. Well,
Yeah.
have a good one, man. Thanks again.
Absolutely. You too. Take care.
Yeah, man. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Cola for rapping. Definitely dig the OBGMs and look forward to the full record coming out. Ready to rock it. The ends, October 30th. Get your hands on it. And we'll catch you all on the 199th one. Crash, bang, boom.